Так, на ПТС, где? Бегом, Иваныч! Забирай! Все, ты тоже там, танк. Ваш на танк тоже ходит.
Да?
Да.
Это я не понял, там нихуя не...
Давайте, пацаны, ваши на танке тоже уезжают. Что, блядь?
Где костер? Давай.
Russian military trying to escape from Ukrainian armed forces after evacuating civilians. Vladimir Putin's troops found it increasingly difficult to defend the city of Kherson from attacks by Kiev fighters. The only thing that still saves the Kremlin troops is the Dnipro River, which is a natural barrier. A Western official told the Times that the Dnipro River was very valuable for Moscow soldiers to deter the Ukrainian army's counterattack. It is currently reported that the Kiev fighters are increasingly closing in on the movement of Russian troops, although there is still a chance of escape if they do not surrender. However, another blow hit Vladimir Putin, as some of the Russian commanders were no longer Kherson. According to Western officials, Russian commanders abandoned the demoralized and leaderless conscription to deal with Ukraine's advances. It is impossible for the Russian president to maintain a military presence in the city of Kherson if Ukraine manages to enter, he said. The official added, the commanders have decided that Kherson is not worth fighting for. Meanwhile, Russia's appointed Kherson official Kirill Stremisov said Vladimir Putin's troops were faced with a difficult position. The best option was no longer but to retreat, but it was a very humiliating move during the conflict with Ukraine. Entering the 9th month of the invasion, Russia has yet to admit heavy losses in its invasion, while the Ukrainian armed forces claim the number of assault personnel killed in battle exceeds 74,000.
Все, нормально, братан, все? Нормально?
Я не слышу! Брат, я не слышу, у меня контузия.
Я понял. Блядь! Ёбаный нахуй, блядь! Ехать!
This is the reason Putin's troops withdrew from an important city in Ukraine. Russia is in a slump. Russia's control of one of the largest cities in southeastern Ukraine, Kherson, appeared increasingly in doubt after Kremlin officials called for troops to withdraw on Thursday, 11/3. Russian-appointed Kherson government deputy Kirill Stremisov said Moscow troops would try and regroup on the other side of the Dnieper. At first they controlled the west bank of the river. Most likely, our unit, our army, will move to the left-east bank, Stremisov said in an official statement, as quoted by NBC News. He also asked the remaining civilians in the city of Kherson to leave immediately because the intensity of the fighting was getting fiercer. Stremisov's comments came after several pro-Kremlin bloggers posted videos and pictures of government buildings in the city without the Russian flag. However, there were white, blue and red flags flying in several other government buildings. Kherson became one of the territories that Russia annexed in October. Russia then deployed thousands of troops to Kherson after officially declaring the city part of Moscow. However, at the end of October, Kherson's puppet government asked residents to leave the city. Residents had to take boats to cross the Dnieper River. In addition, they asked the Russian-formed government departments and ministries to evacuate. The call was a sign of the Russian troops starting to tumble in Kherson. For months, Kiev forces have targeted crossings of the Dnieper River. Thus, it was difficult for Russia to supply logistics on the west bank of the river. Since successfully breaking through the Russian front line, Ukrainian troops have been free to go along the river. However, they also remain wary of whether Russia is deliberately vacating the territory or this is a victory for Kiev. Deputy head of Ukraine's Kherson Regional Council Yuri Sobolevsky said in the city limits, the number of Russian checkpoints was decreasing. In addition, the Russians also lowered their flags from some of the administrative buildings they occupied. We have information that there are still a lot of Russian military personnel and equipment there. This act could be a provocation to lure the Ukrainian armed forces into a trap, Sobolevsky said. Meanwhile, Ukraine's close ally, the United States, called on Kyiv forces to continue their offensive to seize the remaining territory in Kherson. I believe they have the capability to do that. More importantly, Ukraine believes they have the capability, said U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. During this time, Russia fought hard to defend the Kherson territory that had been captured intact since the beginning of the invasion. However, Ukrainian troops managed to advance into the area, making it difficult for Moscow troops to move. The Russia versus Ukraine war is entering its 253rd day. Ukraine continues to retaliate against Russian attacks that want to occupy its territory. Nearly 7,000 people, including members of the Ukrainian military, were reported missing. Launching local Ukrainian media, Glavcom on Thursday, the 3rd of November 2022, it was reported that Russian military forces were continuing to try to defend the territory they had annexed. Russia took offensive actions and concentrated its offensive efforts to survive the resistance of the Ukrainian defense forces towards Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Novopavlik. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces said that units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces recently repelled Russian attacks on the residential areas of Makivka, Nevsky and Bilogorivka in the Luhansk, Verkhnokamiansky, Spern, Bakhmut, Mayorsk, Pervomaysky, Novomykhailivka, Vadian, Pavlivka and Prichistivka in the Donetsk region. Russia continues to fire on units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces and conduct aerial reconnaissance. In addition, Russia also continues to attack energy infrastructure and civilian settlements. In recent days, Russia has launched as many as 3 missiles, 24 air strikes, and launched more than 80 strikes from the rocket salvo system. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Hanna Maliar, stated that the main task of the armed forces today is to reclaim the Ukrainian territory that has been claimed by Russia. In addition, the soldiers are said to be preparing a new attack and carrying out efforts to liberate all the cities that have been captured by the Russians. Maliar stressed that Ukraine would not give up a centimeter of its land. If we talk about the situation on the front lines in general, it can be characterized as preparation for the liberation of our territories and consolidation in the territories we have liberated, Maliar said, quoted from Glavcom on Thursday, the 3rd of November 2022. The stabilization measures are in progress. This is a very serious action by the defense and security forces. Therefore, this is actually our main task now, he continued. Hanna Maliar said that nearly 7,000 Ukrainians were thought to be missing. Detailed information about these people could jeopardize future exchanges. Any information containing personal data of a soldier who is in captivity or is missing can endanger his life and health directly. It can jeopardize the exchange negotiation process as well, because the enemy uses this information, Maliar said.